Happy Thursday to you. Welcome to Pro Fan Talk. My name is Marcus Thomas. Thank you for joining me. Another Thursday. We had a extra week because of Thanksgiving, so a lot of things went down. Let me see here. And where is I'm trying to find? We're still working with our new interface, and now I can't find. Where's my chat at? There we go. We got it. We got it. We got it. So what's going on? Happy Thursday to you. Pre-game show. Uh, the Bills and the Patriots are about to throw down at 8:15 p.m. Bills have been traveling a lot lately. I think Bills have played away for the last 3 weeks because I know they had the storm up north, so they had to go to Detroit. That was supposed to be the home game, so that's why they've been spending so much time away, playing away. What's up, Vince? First out the limo. I appreciate you, brother. So they're about to get started at 8:15, and rubbernecking up here, looking at the NFL shows and all that kind of stuff. So that should be an interesting game. I don't think the Bills should have any problem with the Patriots. I don't see that happening. But we shouldn't have had any problems with the Redskins, and they beat us. So you see how that goes. Any given Sunday, or I guess any given Thursday. So you never know what's going to happen. One of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about this week, you've heard me say on my social media, on other shows, we have to get through games clean. We got to get through games clean. And what that means is no injuries. Very simple. So as of late, we've been getting hit with the injury bug. We had Dallas Goedert, and then we had Gardner-Johnson this past week versus Green Bay. And that was, woof. He looked like he hit a brick wall. He didn't really hit the guy hard, I guess. I guess it was just the way he hit him. I'm not sure. But when you come out with a lacerated kidney, that's bad business. That is bad business. So we'll see. We got to keep. I mean, you can get hurt on any play in the league. And I've said this before. Every team is one play away. Every team is one play away from possible disaster. You saw what happened to Tua. They didn't win a game when he was out. If Tua had not have gotten hurt, it is my opinion that he would be leading the pack for MVP voting, because I don't think Miami would have lost the game. So the injuries matter, especially when you're going down the stretch and you are a legitimate playoff team, when people look at you as a playoff team. That kind of stuff matters. Buffalo was a play away a couple weeks ago. Josh Allen we were talking about possible Tommy John surgery. But he hasn't missed any time. He's looking to get through clean to the end of the year and into the playoffs, and we'll see if that can happen. Same thing with Pat Mahomes. Same thing. You go any team in the league, AFC, NFC, everybody's one play away. Who's your best player? If they go down, same thing with us. If something happens to the wrong person, we're in trouble. Now, we go back a couple weeks, that Indianapolis game, Jalen Hurts shows you why, number one, he is QB1. He deserves it. He earned it. His progress from this time last year till now is night and day. We always knew he could run the ball, but even now he's running the ball better because he's running the ball smarter. And what he's doing with his arm, nobody saw this coming. We expected him to get better, but nobody saw this coming. So we got to keep this up. We got to keep the balance as far as the offense goes, because I want to. It's a weird situation that we're in because I don't want to see Jalen Hurts run as much as he's running. But when he does that, he's very, very difficult to stop. However, when you get that situation like happened to Green Bay, where he scrambles out to the right and he kind of takes a knee, kind of falls down, and they still hit him in the back. He didn't get flagged or anything like that, but you just don't want him to take that hit because somebody's going to be a little bit overzealous. Somebody's going to come and he's going to take a hit that he doesn't need to take. That's the main worry. He's going to take a hit that he doesn't need to take. And you can't do nothing about that. You can't do anything about that. Rob, what's going on, dude? Hey, what's up, Pop? Rob, number 2, Dad, number 3 out the limo. I appreciate you. So you can't do anything about taking hits like that. It is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. That's that's what you sign up for. But the cost of that, take a look at this. That's the injury report for today. Now, a lot of that is rest. CJ Gardner-Johnson is not playing. He's out for about 4 weeks. And let me see. How do I do this? Can I wait a minute? Oh, well, I'll leave it up. Gardner-Johnson's out. He's going to be out for about 4 weeks at least. Bradbury, A.J. Brown, Fletcher Cox, Leonard Dickerson, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, they're all rest. Robert Quinn, Isaac Seumalo, they're all rest. Just resting their legs, especially, Cox and Quinn and Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. They're the older guys. Brandon Graham, they're the older guys. So let them rest their legs a little bit. That doesn't hurt anything. Limited practice. Zach Pascal's got a groin issue. Everybody has a groin issue after games sometimes. Devontae Smith, I didn't hear anything about that being serious, but we'll wait and see. Josh Sweat, another rest one. And Patrick Johnson is an ankle injury. So it looks for the most part, everybody's getting rest. So that's a good thing. But CJ Gardner-Johnson, that is costly because, he's leading the league in interceptions and he's playing lights out. So, yeah, we'd love to have him on the field. But I must say, that kid Blankenship came in and did work. Blankenship came in and did work. So props to him. And for him coming off the bench and playing like that, that boy was ready. So we'll see how that continues and if he has any measure of consistency now that he's the guy. So he's been in the game plan all week. So let's see what he can do with that. But he played well, got a legit pick. It wasn't like a bounce or anything. It wasn't like what Josiah Scott did, where he got the deflect off of Slay's. I think it bounced off Slay's helmet, hit him right in the face mask. So Slay was talking about he wanted to pick from one of the GOATs, from Aaron Rodgers. Well, he got it. He just missed it. That was his opportunity. I thought he had it and popped right off his helmet, and Josiah Scott got the pick. That's the way it goes sometimes. So he's been playing a little bit better. he still sometimes get caught in no man's land. And I think that's just a measure of experience. The more he gets PT, the better off he'll be. So each week he's got progressively better. I know I referred to it like the Josiah Scott experience, because that first game he was back there, he looked like he was in trouble. He looked like he was in real trouble. They were attacking him, and he looked like he wasn't quite sure what to do. But now he got his feet wet, had a couple games, and he's good to go. So at least he's played better than he started. So I expected him to get better, as opposed to Blankenship. Blankenship had a good first step, and I expect that to be better, because he strikes me as more of a cerebral type player. He doesn't have a lot of speed. He's like a 4.5 guy, and you saw that when Christian Watson ran away from him for that touchdown. So, and that's one of the things we got to worry about, because good and well, everybody watching that tape. Everybody's watching that tape. So, and speaking of tape, I'm just hoping, and I know they did. I know the Eagles put on that tape of Cincinnati and Tennessee, because King Henry's coming to town, and he is no joke. He is no joke. Cincinnati pretty much had him wrapped up. Now the problem with that is Gannon going to watch that tape and figure out what they did? Are we going to mimic it, or is he going to stick to what we've been doing, which for the most part really hasn't been working as far as the run game? But again, well, you can't say that, because against the Colts, I think we held the Colts at like 86 yards rushing total. So we had a good game against the Colts. And Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph showed up and showed out. They showed why they're the great vets that they are. And they made impacts. I did not expect them to make an impact like that the first time getting on the field, but they both made impacts. It didn't look like as much of an impact against Green Bay. Green Bay really didn't rush for crazy yards, but it was when they got those yards, they kept converting 3, 4, and 5 yard carries, and they kept converting, moving the stick. So while it may not have been a lot of total yardage, they kept moving the sticks and kept converting. What's up, Jake? Yeah, I don't know. I really hope he makes some adjustments, because we really have to deal with that. We have to get into a better situation where 3, 4, and 5 yards is not the norm running the ball against us. We got to get better at that. And I am a firm believer that this week, King Henry is going to embarrass one of our DBs this week, because our DBs they like to tackle high, and you can't tackle high against somebody that's like 240. That's not going to work. That definitely is not going to work. So it'll be very interesting, because our DBs like to come, get to the side, and try to strip the ball. Blankenship's got enough beef to him where he can come up and make a hit. Marcus Epps is a hitter. He's not afraid to come up and make a hit. But you're going to make business decisions coming up against Derrick Henry, because he's that big. He's a linebacker. Derrick Henry's about the size of TJ Edwards, but faster, a lot faster. So they're going to be making some business decisions coming up against that line of scrimmage. But what they're going to have to do is they got to get him down. They got to hit him low, and they got to take his legs out. The one thing I noticed last week, also against the Colts, when it's short yardage, if the hole is clogged up, I think this happened on goal line one time. The hole was clogged up, and Taylor had to bounce it to the outside, and somebody was there, but they tried to take him down high. They made the hit like shoulder level, chest high. And it's like when you're on the goal line, you got to take the legs, either get in front of them and bear crawling. Of course, it's easier said than done, but you gotta take his feet from him, literally, so he can't take a step. If he takes a step, he should be tripping over something. That's why Cincinnati contained him, because they were getting to him before he could get up ahead of speed. And they were tripping him up, and he couldn't, get his stride and get to the second level. Now, he did on that one play where he took the screen to the end zone, and then fumbled it, and Treylon Burks picked it up in the end zone. I know that cost a whole bunch of fantasy points for somebody. He cost somebody a game with that play. For sure. He definitely caused somebody a loss on a fantasy team. But that was the longest run he had that game. Everything else he was getting stuffed. If he gets ahead of speed, because he's a good north-south runner, if you make him, bounce outside more times than not, you could probably get him. But if he gets ahead of steam and he can make that little quick cut, still staying on the inside, he's going to hurt you. And when running backs get to the second level, regardless of the size, every back that we've seen from Swift in Detroit to, I forget, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the kid, Dameon Pierce for the Texans, and even Aaron Jones and Dillon for Green Bay last week. They get ahead of steam, and everybody's got the blueprint on how to get through us, and we got to change it up a bit. So I saw that Jordan Davis was possibly coming back. He was in practice. So there is a chance that he might play this weekend. But I haven't heard anything verified one way or another. I would think that he would not play this week. Some people think that he might play because he was at practice stretching and stuff, but all he was doing was stretching. So we'll see how that works out. We definitely need him. I wish they would play a little bit more of that 50 front when they can. Bring our cornerbacks down and make them play some press coverage. That would definitely help. But for some reason, Gannon doesn't like to do that. So we'll see if the big man is ready to go. Hopefully he is, because I want to see him and Dominican Sue, Linval Joseph, and Fletcher Cox. I want to see all of them on the field at the same time and see what type of damage they do. That's a hellacious front. So I think they could definitely do some damage with that. And that gives you some room and some worry on the offensive linemen on what they got to do and who they got to block. You line them boys up in that 50 front, that center guard got to make some decisions. Stelios, what are you talking about, dude? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. The reason why I say that is because if we do what we've been doing, when we get to the playoffs, we shouldn't have a problem progressing. If we run the ball first, we should not have a problem progressing in the playoffs. And that's the if. That's the if. If we do that, if they try to get cute and want to throw the ball all over the place, we can throw the ball, but we've been having trouble doing that. And it's not because of Hurts, it's because the receivers has been putting the ball on the ground. The Colts game and the Washington game. We did not, or let me say, Jalen Hurts did not play bad in those games. I think there's only been a handful of games, maybe 2 games, where Jalen Hurts has thrown bad balls. The Jacksonville game, he threw a bad ball that got hit for a pick 6. He threw a bad ball again. He threw a couple of bad balls against Dallas, but I don't think he turned the ball over. So overall, he hasn't thrown many bad balls that have turned into turnovers. He hasn't turned the ball over much anyways, aside from fumbles and stuff like that. The one strip sack that they got in Indy, you watched the tape of that. When he hit Quez Watkins for the touchdown late in the game against Indy, that was the same play where he got the strip sack and Quez Watkins was breaking open. He was leaving the safety. Jalen was literally about to deliver the ball, and Miles Sanders couldn't hold his block. If Miles Sanders holds his block for a half second longer, that's a touchdown. Or at least we're going to have the ball in the red zone. But that's all it takes. You gotta, and that's the biggest, I guess, gripe, not letting our secondary play press coverage and buying our defensive line just that half second more. That is the difference right there. That half a second right there is what caused the sack. Because it allowed their defensive line to get to Jalen Hurts. Miles engaged him, but I mean, that's a mismatch. So Miles' job is he's not going to knock his head off. He's not that type of back. But you got to keep him busy to give Jalen enough time to throw, and he couldn't. He engaged him initially. It looked like he got a good block, but he just shed him. Because, I mean, Miles is what, 210? So he just swam him and got to Jalen to strip the ball. Right when Jalen was about to release the ball. So also a good thing that didn't hurt his arm or shoulder or anything like that. Throwing the ball like Josh Allen. Same type situation where you about to unleash, throw a long pass and they grab your arm. So all your force is coming forward and you don't get to do that. You don't get to make the throw. And it's like somebody's pulling your arm back, and that's how you get hurt. Who is my MVP at this moment? Who is my MVP at this moment? My MVP would be Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts is playing at that level, but I got to keep it real. Patrick Mahomes is doing some video game type crap. Like, he's on another level. He's probably going to be over 5,000 yards passing and probably 30-something odd touchdowns this year. And if you're not careful, he might break the 40s with touchdowns. He's been playing at that level, especially him and Kelsey. They can't stop Kelsey. They know the ball is going to Kelsey, and they can't stop him. How you going to have less than 50 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns? They know they get in the red zone, the ball is going to Kelsey. I said this on when I was on Morning Coffee this morning. I said this. I've been posting this on social media. Jalen Hurts should walk away with the MVP this year if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist. But I will say this, and you saw this post as well. Patrick, right now, Mahomes should win it, and rightfully so. Right now, today. You asking me today. 4 weeks from now could be a totally different ball game. But right now, it's Patrick Mahomes. But look at this. Think about where Jalen Hurts was this time last year. This time last year, what were we saying about Jalen Hurts? He's a good runner, but that's not going to last. You can't maintain that, running the ball like that, and he just can't throw. If you force him to throw, you're going to beat him. and who can we trade with to move up in the draft to get another quarterback. Remember that talk? And let's not forget, that was valid. That was legit. That wasn't hating. That was legit. So for Jalen Hurts to be a legitimate MVP candidate after everything that happened last year, everything that happened in the Tampa Bay game, for us to be in a situation that we are in, 10-1, and our quarterback, our QB1, is in the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, above and beyond any expectation anybody could have had for Jalen Hurts. Way beyond. Nobody saw this coming. I was a Hurts fan, and the most I could say was, I need Jalen to be good, not great. I need Jalen to be good and consistent, to get between 225 and 250 yards a game, not turn the ball over. That's what Jalen needs to do. He has totally just blown any average expectations we've had for him, at least mine anyways. Because now he can legitimately sit back in the pocket and beat you. He's shown that. All the people that said he couldn't throw the long ball, I never believed that anyways. The RPO argument, I like to see Jalen run the RPO. I just don't want to see him run as much. And in my opinion, I want to see the RPR. I want to see run pass run, or, you know, the more I want to see more pass options off the RPO. Because I don't think we have to, they're scared enough now, very similar to what we did to Dallas. We ran that play action, RPO, and he hit Devontae Smith. Because every time he sticks that ball out, somebody has to make a decision. I will still stay on my pet peeve and wish we ran the ball under center more, because I think that would benefit Jalen Hurts. He's a good enough quarterback where he can be under center and drop back 7 and deliver the ball and find the open man to deliver it. But running play action from him under center makes a big difference. Jose, I'm right there with you, bro. He read the assignment. He definitely read the assignment. I said this on Sports Steak last week. If I was a young quarterback, as soon as my season was over, as soon as the season was over, I would be on the phone with Jalen Hurts, and I would be like, yo, Jalen, where did you go and who did you work out with? Who trained you over the last summer? I want to learn what you learned. I want to make that progression like you just did. If I was a young quarterback, he's the first person I would call. I want to know what you did, because his progression is amazing. Again, nobody saw this coming. Nobody. And if they said they did, they lying to you. Because even the biggest of Hurts fans and Hurts supporters never saw this coming. Now, the one thing I will say, my one opinion that I had from the giddy up was, stop trying to throw the kid out. You got to give him at least 2 to 3 years under the same offense, the same scheme. You got to be reading the same playbook 2 and 3 years in a row. That makes a difference. If you haven't had a stable offensive coordinator since you joined the league or since you were in college, again, and I've said this a million times already, people underestimate, especially fans underestimate how difficult it is to learn a pro offense. I don't care what kind of experience you got in college. It is difficult to learn a pro offense. Now, it changes every year. You learn one offense, somebody gets fired or somebody leaves, you got to learn another offense. Somebody gets fired, somebody leaves, you got to learn another. Man, that is difficult because at the quarterback position, you got to learn the offense. You got to know it by the back, like the back of your hand, and then you got to be able to tell everybody else what to do. That is a difficult endeavor. So for him to be able to do that with the constant changing of offensive coordinators and all of that kind of stuff, and for him to still be where he is amazing. And I'm glad he's finally in a situation where he's got the answers to the test. We're in the same scheme. I know what we're doing. I got a year under my belt. Now I got 2 years under my belt. That stuff makes a difference. That makes a huge difference. When you're comfortable with something that you can tell somebody what to do and you know how to do it in your sleep. That's when you don't have to think. That's what we would say. You want to get to a point where you're not thinking. When I was a rookie in camp with the Eagles, we would be in the huddle. Randall would call the play. And especially for us young guys, we would look at him and he could look in our eyes and he would know we didn't know what to do. And he would tell us, and you do here, you run. Like he would direct traffic. But he could look at you, and any quarterback can do this. They can look at you and tell if you know what's going on, if you know what to do, if you know what to do versus this defense. We worked on this. If they come up and press you man, break out, go wide and take it as a streak. If they play off you 5 yards, you're going to cut it in for a skinny slant or a skinny post. If they play off you 10, you're going to drive to his outside shoulder and run a 10-yard in, and we're going to get the first down. Make sure you know where the sticks are. All of that kind of stuff. When you're in the huddle, a quarterback can look around, and he knows, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's on the same page. So when you get out there and you're not thinking about what you got to do, you just know. It just happens. That's the best way to do. That's why I see a lot better performance this year from my man. Running backs unite. Miles Sanders is playing lights out. He looks like a better inside runner than he has been since he's been here. He is a jump cut type of running back. That's just his style. But now he's a little bit more patient with it. And if you've watched him, the first time I saw it in Green Bay, first time this year, he jumped outside and made the wrong choice. He did that on one, maybe 2 plays in Green Bay. But that was the first time I've seen it all year. Everything else, he's been between the tackles, staying inside, and he's still doing the jump cuts, but he's doing it inside where he needs to be. And he's setting up his blocks. Because if you look at him slipping through those holes, linebackers got him dead to rights. And he just shakes them. His style is a little bit like Shady, but he's not as quick as Shady was. But he's quick enough. Not too many people was quick as Shady. Maybe Barry. And I'm sure there's a couple others out there, but Sanders is running like a number 1 back, and I wish they would continue to run him like a number 1 back. Stop flip-flopping between him and Gainwell. Gainwell's been running well lately, but Miles is running the ball and catching the ball well enough where you don't have to take him out. The only time Miles should be coming out is if he's tired. I'm from the old school. We didn't have packages. Number 40's in the game. We're going to run him till they stop him. Then we'll go to something else. They couldn't stop me. I'm with you, Stelios. I'm happy for Sanders too, man. I think he got a bad rap. Well, no, I won't say that. He did not have a bad rap because he was putting the ball on the ground and he was getting injured. So again, valid criticism. I will never jump on the bandwagon if your criticism is valid. I know what haters are But I look at things, I will always have a different perspective watching games because I don't look at it from a fan perspective. I look at it as the guy that was in the film room after the game to see what you did wrong. So my perspective is a little different. And he was a home run hitter last year. They just didn't feed him enough. In my opinion, he could have had 1,000 yards if they would have gave him the ball the first 5 games of the year. But it wasn't until game 6 that Sirianni finally flipped his pitch and started running the ball on a regular basis, and you see what happens. And running the ball could have helped Jalen Hurts develop a little bit faster, but it is what it is. That's under the bridge now, so can't do nothing about it. But Vince, will Sermon ever get a shot? I hope so. I think Trey Sermon should be that big back. But the problem is you can't see what you got until they use them. They put them in the game and use them. Sometimes I think we get you get loyal to a player to a fault, but it'll never be a situation like that unless you got somebody that's like a first round draft pick, because then the understanding is we done spent this money, so you got to play him, and we don't have anybody like that in the backfield. I think I would want to see him because again, he's a big body, he's got good speed. Some of the stuff that I looked at before he got here, I'll admit I wasn't that impressed with. But like when he was in San Francisco, I didn't see anything that made me drop my jaw or anything like that. But I had enough people tell me like, yo, that's a good pickup. He's a good young back. I had enough people tell me that. So I was like, okay, we'll give him a chance. But you can't see what you got until you put him to the fire. Same thing with our tight ends. I'm a fan of Calcaterra. Stoll is pretty good. And Tyree Jackson, that boy's got running back speed. That boy is fast, but you got to use him. You got to use him. When we're, playing whoever, why can't we put a big package with all them big tight ends and challenge those linebackers? Because I don't think there's too many linebackers, maybe with the exception of Parsons, that runs a 4-3 that can hang with Tyree Jackson. But you got to get him in the game. He got in a little bit. He got the one penalty call. I didn't even look at that, so I don't know if that was a legit penalty or I think he got him for holding. But that's just a situation where you got a young kid in there trying to do what he got to do, and you get caught. That's something you got to teach in practice, because I guarantee you, in practice, he was doing the same stuff he did in the game. So you got to drill home, keep your hands inside, and all that kind of stuff. But you will never. You don't feel it until you're in the game. Other than Hurts, who's our most important player? Oof, that's a good one. Other than Hurts, who's our most important player? I would say, that's a good question. I would say either TJ Edwards or Maddox, because his absence in the secondary hurts. TJ Edwards is playing lights out. He's been playing lights out all year. So he finally got a shot and he made the most of it. He's playing Pro Bowl level, in my opinion. Hassan Reddick's doing what he's supposed to do. Robert Quinn, you haven't heard too much of. I think what's going to happen with Robert Quinn, he's just not going. Robert Quinn's going to pop up out of nowhere, and everybody's going to be like, "Well, where did this come from? Well, this is what we've been waiting on, and it's about time." And you're going to hear all them type of comments. But I've said this before. I've seen enough of Robert Quinn. Like he's almost there. He's almost at the sack, and somebody gets there before him. Like D Gunn says, he had a bunch of people tell him that he was washed up coming out of Chicago. So Chicago was happy to get rid of him. but we'll see. But that's what I believe. I think he's just gonna be quiet, and then one day he's gonna have a big game. And I'm hoping that game comes at the right time because it'll be a situation where nobody, like, you're not taking him. He's not the focus. You know what I mean? So he's gonna end up surprising some people. It just hasn't happened yet. And I said this before. I feel the same way with him as I did with Hassan Reddick. First 4 games of that we had Reddick, nothing. No sacks. He got close. Couple of almost. He got close, but nothing ever manifested. And then all of a sudden, the floodgates opened up. So I think the Washington game was when, it's like finally seeing something from Hassan Reddick. And it was like it was there, but you just, it's not going to always be, players that just come in and dominate. Because guess what? The other guys, the other team gets paid too. And they got some good players too. So it's always a battle. So I think the media and the fandom sometimes get way too impatient. Way too impatient. You got to let somebody get comfortable in their situation, and it is what it is. What happens if you go back and look at tape and Robert Quinn is not getting anything done? But what happens if Robert Quinn is the reason why Hassan Reddick is getting sacks? Maybe something that he's doing is causing some. You don't have to make the play to make the play. So I think Robert Quinn's going to come on soon enough, but it's going to take as long as it takes. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But what I would really like to see our defense, and here, I guess here's my hope, and this is I might be throwing the Hail Mary as far as what Gannon's going to do with the defense, because clearly Gannon doesn't like to change stuff up. What I would hope is that if he doesn't change, he keeps doing what he's doing, and then when we go into the playoffs, you start seeing different looks because teams haven't seen that. So you do have a legit opportunity to surprise them. But what I don't want to see is we keep going with the stuff that ain't working. We keep running the same fronts that every team that we played gashes us with. So we'll see if he changes up. If he doesn't, it's hard to. It's a weird juxtaposition with Gannon, because everybody wants him to blitz more. Everybody wants him to do these things because our run defense is so porous. However, it hasn't been 4 games now. We are 10-1, and we've only had 4 games where opponents have scored more than us. 4 games. We 10-1, and only 4 games where our opponent has scored more than us. So we don't like the defense, but it's working. We just don't like the optics of it. I made this analogy last week. It's like when your kids get on your nerves and drive you nuts, but they bring home straight A's. What are you going to do? Gannon's defense is working. We just don't like the way it looks sometimes. I don't like a bend, but don't break, because it's going to bend at the wrong time. And I think with the combination of our offense, keeping the defense, giving the defense a break off the field and getting those long drives, we should be a dominant defense. We still haven't had a game where we just dominated. Green Bay, the run game dominated. The offense dominated. The defense didn't. The Colts, defense dominated. Offense couldn't get nothing going. Washington was what it was. Defense played good enough to win. And that's the way it's going to be because I got to listen, take my own advice. The other team gets paid too. You can talk all that smack about we should have beat Washington, and yeah, we should have beat Washington. We lost to Washington because our receivers couldn't hold on to the ball. A.J. Brown drops a ball that should have been a touchdown, or at least that would have put us inside the 5-yard line. Quez Watkins can break the game wide open, and he fumbles the ball. So we had opportunities to win that game. We gave it away. I don't think that they beat us. We gave that game away. As a player, that's the worst thing in the world when you give a game away. Hate it. That means you legit had the opportunity to win. As opposed to with the Colts was battling us hard. And again, putting the ball on the ground. A.J. Brown fumbles again. He causes a turnover for the second week in a row. He's had 3 turnovers in 3 games. Washington, the ball hits him in the hand. They get the pick. The Colts, he catches I think it was a slant, and he's getting yards after catch, fumbles the ball. And then Green Bay, same thing, fumbles the ball. So now everybody's going to strip the ball. And now I know he was sick and all that kind of stuff, but if you're on the field, man, hold on to the ball. Maybe you have to tone down some of that yak, catch the ball, get down to the ground. If you can make somebody miss, make somebody miss. But if you see the traffic coming, get your butt down on the ground. Because we can't have the turnovers. We can't have the turnovers. Turnovers are killing us. And also our special teams. I don't know what the Eagles are thinking, who they got coaching special teams, but it's god awful. If Turpin does not fall on his own man, we lose to Dallas. Dallas wins that game. Green Bay was bringing the ball out of the end zone 6 yards deep and getting to like the 30 and 40-yard line. That's atrocious. So I'd be curious to see what are they doing in those meetings. What are they talking about in those meetings? How do they work it out in practice? Something's not working. I would love to see Darren Sproles come in, not just to be a special teamers, but really to be a coach, to get that special teams together because they look god awful. And what I don't want to happen is we're balling and the special teams is what makes the difference and us falling in the playoffs. You got to take care of that stuff now. And the health of the team comes into play because now Blankenship, Josiah Scott, those are guys that normally play on special teams. So now they're getting even more burn and getting worn out even more because you coming off a defense and now you on special team kick coverage or you're on punt return or you're on kickoff. So now you got to do it all. So that affects everything. It's a domino effect. If we got backups in, backups are usually on special teams. So now if you got a backup that's starting and he dog tired, who's his backup? Now you're talking about a third stringer. You don't want to get into that chess match. You don't want to get into that chess match. So it's a domino effect of things that can happen. But we're okay. We just got to keep doing what we're doing, get through these games clean. And if we continue on this pace, somebody's going to challenge our offense where we can't run the ball and Jalen's going to beat them in the air. That's going to happen. And then everything's going to switch again and he's going to go back to running again because they can't stop him. You got to make a decision when it comes to Jalen Hurts. He's running smart. He's getting down. He's not trying to take hits and all of that kind of stuff. So he's running smart. And I want him to keep doing that. Now, one thing I want to get into, got the last 10 minutes. I wanted to talk about this because this stuff just broke. Oh, real quick. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith this week versus Tennessee. A.J. Brown is going to get his, but I think Devontae Smith is going to have the game. Devontae Smith is going to have the breakout game, because I think there's going to be so much focus on A.J. Brown that it's going to be Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins are going to make some things happen, because that's the way you concentrate on one thing and you miss what's going on over here. So my prediction is Eagles win 28-20. It's going to be a one possession game, especially if let me say it like this. If we can't stop, that's my prediction, 28-20 Eagles. If we can stop Henry like Cincinnati stopped Henry, it'll be a bigger win than that. Because I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Ryan Tannehill and our wide receiver core over their wide receiver core. And I don't think Treylon Burks is there yet. So I believe our defensive secondary that can keep him in check if we don't play that soft middle stuff, because they are going to do that, because they saw Green Bay do it, and Houston do it, and Indy do it. And every team we've played, they hit us in that soft middle because Gannon is giving it up. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Devontae Smith is going to have a big game. Let me see here. What was the last thing? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. So the Kyler Murray, Patrick Peterson thing popped up. And I thought that was interesting, because everybody knows the struggles that Kyler Murray has been going through this year. And let me be honest with you, his organization hung him out to dry. They definitely hang him out to dry. Even if what they're saying about the Call of Duty stuff, and I mean, even if that's where they're gonna go, you don't put that stuff in the press. You don't let it be known that you put that stuff in the contract. You can't do that. You just invited the biggest distraction that you could ever have for your team, and then you sign them to a $200-something million contract. That makes no sense. And you didn't have a better option. But the Patrick Peterson thing is they were teammates. So I'm like, you put stuff like that. Everybody wants to kick somebody when they down. That's low-hanging fruit. My thing is, why didn't you say that while you was on site? Because that's just like, somebody in your face for 2 years. Then when you leave, they got all of this stuff to say. They putting all the business out there, because it's, again, I'm old school. What we would do in the locker room stayed in the locker room. If there was you guys would not believe how many fights and arguments and all that kind of stuff used to happen in locker rooms all the time. But you kept it in house, so people outside the locker room had no idea. But that age is gone now. I was the last, my era. I played from 93 to 97. Played with the Eagles 93, 94, NFL Europe 95, 6, and 7, and up in Canada. But when I was with the Eagles, after the game, everybody just wasn't allowed in the locker room. Matter of fact, I remember that was the first or the second year they allowed women in the locker rooms. That was still a big deal. People still had that on the brain. But my point is everybody, if the press wrote something bad about you, even calling it the press, you can't even call it the press, because there's no presses anymore. It's not nobody reads the Inquirer. You go to PhillyInquirer.com. So everything is media. So everything is instant. So if people had something to say, those same media members had to come see you, because they would be all huddled. Same thing. They would still be around your desk after every game, around your locker. But everybody was taking notes, or you had a little mini recorder. But you had to be there to ask the question. It wasn't being streamed live, and everybody could just pick and choose and cherry pick comments and stuff like that. But this is weird because they played together for a period of time. They knew each other, and I don't know. It's just bad optics that he waited until he was out of there. He's on somebody else's podcast. You must have really had a problem with him when he was there. And if you did, you can't wait until now you gone. Now you want to air all the dirt. That looks bad on you, in my opinion, because you had ample opportunity to address it on site. And you did. Maybe you did, and you just not saying that. But I would think that if you did address it on site, that would be easy enough to say. You're going to always have people in your locker room that you don't like. That period. That will never go away. But at the end of the day, y'all all trying to get to the same place. So I guess I don't know, man. It's just bad optics that he go on somebody else's podcast, and now that he gone, he got all this to say. Now, but back when Kyler was having a measure of success, I would imagine he still had the same attitude. And did he not care for everybody then when y'all was winning, or it was only when things got bad? That's the thing. It couldn't have just happened overnight. And like, I'd be curious as to what their relationship was. What was their relationship to make him go on somebody else's podcast and want to bring that up? And it all goes, to me, it all goes back to the same thing. You had ample opportunity, whatever was going on, to say what you had to say. But you didn't. I thought Kyler Murray's response was, he kept it above board, and that was a legitimate question. Like, if you wanted the vets and you wanted a mentor as a big bro, and that is a real concept in the locker room. You look at Roquan Smith when they traded away Robert Quinn. That dude was in tears at the podium. He was in tears because that was his big bro. That was somebody he looked up to. Those relationships get formed. And again, it ain't always got to be big brother, little brother, but there is a very well-established class of athletes in every locker room. And if you are a veteran, you automatically get a level of respect because you've been around for a couple years, so you know what's going on. So from somebody like that to come down, to get into the greasy social media comments and all that kind of stuff, I was like, eh. So, and for whatever Kyler Murray said, or his social media comments, I didn't see Patrick Peterson put out a rebuttal. His quote was, the only person Kyler Murray cares about is himself. I don't necessarily agree with that, because you can't be a good quarterback like that. And don't get it twisted. Kyler Murray is not a garbage quarterback. He going through his struggles like everybody else do. Patrick Mahomes has been known to throw picks. Patrick Mahomes had other stuff going on. When he had to quiet his family and all of that, he had issues. Josh Allen had issues. Lord knows Zach Wilson is going through his stuff. Everybody goes through this stuff. Everybody. Jared Goff. You look at Carr in Las Vegas. Everybody goes through their stuff. Nobody's exempt. So that was kind of interesting. The optics of it didn't look good. Glad Murray responded to it, and he kept it kind of above board, but he let him know, like, you could have talked to me anytime and you didn't. So why would you go on a podcast? Because now that lets me clearly, Kyler Murray was kind of like blasted with that. He wasn't expecting it. That was like a sucker punch. Definitely not expecting that. So the question is, what happened with their relationship that would cause Patrick Peterson to go that route, especially if we boys. And you ain't even got to be boys, but you can keep it above board. So I'm interested to see where this goes. If he says anything else, if he's like, yeah, so it is what it is. But listen, man, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate all y'all for for joining me. We're going to keep banging it up, keep making it grow. Invite somebody to come on with you next week and get in the chat. You can catch me right here next Thursday, same time, same channel, HUD Radio. You can also catch me on my personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ProFanTalk. That's the bottom one right there, where I'm putting up content. I'm trying to do it every day. It gets hard with my schedule, but getting it done. So appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. Let's get this win. Eagles 28-20 this weekend, and we go to 11-1. And let's keep doing work, get people healthy, and get ready for this playoff run. All right. So let's see if we can stop King Henry. All right, go Birds. Y'all have a good night. Enjoy the game. And y'all will hear from me probably Saturday and Sunday getting ready for the game. So stay tuned and have a good one. Peace.